All right, kiddos, we are starting in on the next part of our one-point perspective journey. Ooh. We are going to do an incredibly cliche thing, and yet I still feel like you guys need to do it. We're going to do a small little cityscape. Dun, dun, dun. So just like with everything else in one-point perspective, your first mark is your horizon line. Okay? As we've said before, the horizon line is also referred to as the eye level. Okay, if we have it up high, we can have it down low, we can have it in the middle. For most of these, I want you guys to stay pretty much in the middle. So we've drawn our horizon. Let me draw that a little bit darker because on the camera it's just not picking it up quite so well. All right, so we'll draw it in the middle. It does not have to be perfectly even, guys. Please don't sit here and go, okay, it's got to be exactly this many high and that many. No, it's get it roughly horizontal, okay? And then you're going to pick a spot on here to be the vanishing point. Just like when we're measuring with a ruler, you want to make a small mark. It needs to be large enough that you notice it, but not so big that it's taking up too much space or that it could manipulate where you're going. So I'm going to pick right about here. There's my vanishing point. All right, it's a little bitty X. We're going to be pirates on a treasure hunt today. Don't ask. Excuse me. And this is where we're going to start. The very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a road. And we're going to do that by having a converging line over here. Whoomp. Okay, it needs to be a little bit darker for you guys on the video, so let's try that again. Line it up, a little bit darker. Draw as light as you can to see it. Now I'm drawing darker for this video. I'm drawing darker for this video so that you can see it a little bit more clearly. Now roads tend to have two sides. So we're going to take that and we're going to move this a little bit further, still connecting to our vanishing point, and we're just going to go whomp, just like that. So now we have a road. Yay! It's a very simple road. We're not going to get too joined in. In fact, you know what? I'm going to make it a bigger road. We'll make this a 2-lane highway. And we'll do that by, again, taking this and going yoink. So now we have a 2-lane road. I should probably make an adjustment because these should be about the same size. So let me erase this line. Look at that little Control-Z eraser stick thingy. It's like it serves a purpose. For the record, erasing. If you really want to do good erasing, put your hand on either side of the place where you're erasing at and use small movements. This whole, I'm going to erase the whole paper, is just going to tear your paper up. It's not going to get any of the material up, okay? So we're going to kind of estimate about halfway here. Yoink. There. Okay, give myself an idea so that it looks like it's halfway and halfway. Making adjustments to my road. It's not big adjustments, but just enough so that it's a little bit more believable. Okay, so now I have my right lane and my left lane. We're going to be driving in America, so cars go that way. Regardless, we now have a road. That's so great. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a sidewalk. Well, we want some width on that sidewalk. So we're just going to say, I want the sidewalk to end here. And we are going to connect that dot where I want my sidewalk to end back to my vanishing point. All of these lines will converge, that's why they're called converging lines, way back here. All right, to push this sidewalk further, we are going to need to have a series of horizontal lines. And I'm going to show you guys in a little bit how to really do that. But I'd like to have a sidewalk on the other side. Now they should be, because this is all directly towards us, this should be the same width as that one. So what does that mean? Well, it means that my sidewalk actually goes off the page a little bit. If you really want to be precise, you can measure it. And I'm looking at about 5 centimeters here, so we'll just go about 5 centimeters there. And I'm going to do this horrible, horrible thing, and I will yell at you if you do not erase the mark off my table. We will have a problem. I'll put a little mark on my table. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. Yeah, be very careful to leave your paper exactly where it is. But this is just for accuracy. Okay, and then I'll just come over here and erase my mark on the table. That way the sidewalk looks like it's believable on both sides. And you get this great cityscape, but at some point we actually need to have a building. And when we start these things, we're basically thinking of them as boxes. So I'm going to make a really tall building up front, and where I'm going to start is I'm going to start right here. Okay? I'm going to start this building here, and I'm going to draw a vertical line. Why? Well, because most of the time our buildings go straight up and down. Okay? And we're going to start with our box. So let me draw this box, and I'm going to have it go off the page because I can. It doesn't have to stay on the page. Okay, don't think that everything's got to be contained perfectly in your little picture. And just for ease of understanding, I'm going to eliminate, notice I'm either side of where I'm erasing, and I'm erasing small, so I don't rip my paper up, and my erase is really, really clean. Like you can't hardly see the mark anymore, it's weird. Take the time to do it right. We don't have to do it 5 times over. Okay, so this is the front surface. Just like we were doing with our boxes in our previous ones, this is the surface that we just created. We just turned it vertical, so it's a taller building. Okay? So that's the surface we created, and now what we have to do is we have to close this box back to the vanishing point. We have to create this surface. Okay? So we're going to take these 2 corners, boink, and boink. Now this one's already got a converging line, so we don't actually have to worry about that one. We do still have to connect this one. So I'm going to line up that corner. I'm going to line up my vanishing point. I am going to straddle the ruler with my finger so that it doesn't wiggle and wobble and all that fun stuff. I'm going to go yoink. There's the top of my building. Now this is where it gets confusing for some of you. At some point we have to end the building. It does not continue perpetually way off into the distance, miles down this road, right? It just doesn't. So we're going to arbitrarily, that means we're just going to kind of pick a spot. We're going to pick where this building ends, and I want it to be a kind of broader building. It still needs to be a vertical line. It needs to be parallel to this one. Because it touches this converging line and this converging line, it has to match the line that touches the same ones. Okay, so I'm going to draw this vertical line further down to end my building. Look, I ended my building. So now we're going to erase this line, and now because this horizon point is inside where our building is supposed to be, we're going to erase that line too. Once again, small erasing, holding the paper down securely, because that just prevents you from messing it up. So we have a building. We're going to claim that this is a 4-story building. So that means we need to split it into 4. Now I'm going to start here with this line, and we're going to split it in half. And then we're going to split it in half again, and we're going to split it in half again. And the entire point of splitting it is so that we figure out where these stories, where the floors are. Now on this front surface, all of these will be horizontal. So 1, 2, and 3 to give us 1, 2, 3, 4 floors. Okay? They're not perfectly even. If you really want to measure them out and divide it, go for it. Okay, it'll be more even. In my case, that's close enough. Okay, now to go along this surface of the building, I have to draw more converging lines. So I'm lining these points that I've randomly chosen. Okay, I'm going to line these points up to my vanishing point. I'm just going to draw them here. I should have just left the horizon line. I needed it apparently. I'm just going to draw them here to the vanishing point. Okay, and that will help me when I'm figuring out windows and doors, which I'm going to do right now. I'm going to draw my first series of windows, and what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to start with a vertical line and another vertical line a little bit further down. These are all going to be where windows sit inside of. Okay, I'm not going to get too tied up in it right now. There is actually a way to generate exactly how far apart these are going to be, but right now I just wanted to start here. And then I'm going to use my ruler width for the series of windows on this side. We're going to do a vertical line again. Okay, you can kind of see them. These are guides. Your windows are not going to touch the top and the bottom, but they show you where your window needs to be. Okay, so what you can do now, it's just going to all be converging lines. This is going to get really confusing, so go slow enough so that you're watching what you're doing, okay? You still need converging lines, but now I have an area inside. that I need to work within. So I can go a little bit lower, and I can go a little bit lower, and then I'm going to go below my story line, okay? So I have lines that show me what floor I'm on, but the bottom and top of the windows are not going to touch those, right? They're going to be a little bit lower and a little bit above. Now you can, again, you can measure these out if you want to be super accurate. But I'm not worried too much about accuracy at this point. You are coming up with your own building. They all need to connect back here to the vanishing point. A little bit lower. So here are my windows. If you want to take the ruler and make sure that your lines are perfectly straight, go for it. But now I have a whole series of windows going down the side of this building. And what you'll notice, just like with the boxes in the eye line, okay, here's your horizon up here. Things that are below the horizon, you see the top of. Things that are above the horizon, you see the bottom surface of. But that's not how holes are going to work. These windows are now serving as holes. When you are looking up into a hole, what you're really going to see is going to be the upper surface. Okay? And the way these work is from these corners, these exterior corners, you are going to draw horizontal lines where you see them. So line up your horizontal line, draw a horizontal. This one is really close to the horizon line, and because of that we are going to see, watch, we're going to see less of that surface. See how this is really nice and thick, but this starts getting thinner? Down here, if I were to draw a horizontal line, it would go inside the building. See how it's above my window? But if I go to this other one, I can see the windowsill surface right here. And I'll see even more of it on the bottom of this one. Okay? And then I can just arbitrarily decide how thick I want my windows to be, connect to that line. Look at that. Starting to get some window thickness. Now these lines go a little bit far, so I'll just erase those out really quick. And then these corners, this one and this one and this one and this one, these are going to connect to the vanishing point again. So now we have a thickness to our windows. And we can erase these guide points. We don't really need them so much anymore. And we have windows. Doors will work the same way. Okay? Now if you really want to be accurate, and this all boils down to that sort of thing, if you really want to be accurate, you can actually connect this line up here, and that'll tell you where the horizontal line for this next window needs to be. To draw, oops. Draw these windows. That line's going to connect here at that point. So I can now take that and go horizontally with that. And I have this window right here. It's a wider window on this wall, and that's fine. Now because these are flat surface windows, these corners need to connect to the vanishing point. Okay? Just like before, you're going to kind of arbitrarily decide the thickness and width of this window. You're going to match the horizontal and the vertical. Now what's going to sell them is going to be value. So I'm going to say this surface gets shaded in. Just going to really quickly do that for visuals. Okay, over here, this surface gets shaded in. To give us the ideas. Okay, so we understand what we're looking at. So we're starting here with our building. And the thing about it is that we can draw even more buildings. I don't necessarily need this line here. Let's connect another one. Let's make this one taller. So we're going to actually feed off of this line. We have the top of this building. we're going to have two buildings butt up right up against each other. You know what? Let's leave a little bit of an alleyway. We'll leave a little bit of space between this corner of the building and the next corner of the next building. But we're going to go taller this time. Okay? Just like before, you have a horizontal line to cap it off. We are drawing the box that faces us. Okay? And a vertical line to end it. Notice that I'm not going through my building. I've given it a certain width. Okay? And now I'm going to connect it back here to the vanishing point again. Yoink. Oh, I missed. Yoink. There. No, I didn't. All right. We're going to make this a narrower building. Okay. And to cap off my converging lines, because I already have the bottom line because of the sidewalk, to cap off the converging lines, I just draw another vertical at the end. So here's a vertical, here's a vertical. We're going to draw another vertical line right here. And then we'll erase this bad boy because we don't need it. Okay. So now we have our second building. We can follow the same stories, because stories are generally about the same size. They're usually about 10 feet between the bottom of one floor and the top of the next. And the only reason the ceilings are 8 foot is because somewhere they have to put all the piping and wiring and nonsense. So we have this one here. And this looks like it's a 5-story building. I actually gauged that I got lucky. I could have measured it and made that a little bit more accurate, but I eyeballed it. We'll go with it. We're good. All right, so that building's a little bit taller. All right, and you start seeing how this works. Now, we need a bottom of this building. We have this one here and the top of this building here, but this one still needs a bottom. So I forgot to draw that horizontal line. Let's do that really quickly. And to really sell that, let me just erase the sidewalk right there. And it looks like an alleyway ducking in between the building. Okay, and we can continue these all the way down. Let's say the next building actually butts directly up against it, so I'm going to use the same vertical line. Let's say it's a 3-story building, so we're going to use this line right here. And we'll cap it off. What you'll notice is I don't have a side there, and that's okay. I don't need necessarily the other side. We'll make one more really tall building a little bit further down. This time we're going to pretend there's a road. So instead of this tiny little bit, we're going to leave a really nice wide spot. We'll make a really good tall building this time. Yeah, let's take it all the way. What the heck? This is a really big building. Watch this. This one's going to be extreme. We are really close to our vanishing point now. So this one's going to duck down really hard. And we can make that a thinner building. Yoink. And remember, this is supposed to be a roadway right here. So where these end, I need this surface. I need to have my horizontal line, because what I have to have is I need to have this box. This box right here. Okay? So we have all these little surfaces and all these little pieces, and we have an idea on how to draw windows on all of them. And let me just kind of kill that off really quick, because that got kind of, there we go. So we have this whole series of buildings. So your task today is to give me a road with a couple of buildings. I need at least 3, potentially 4. You can draw them on both sides. Now I've only drawn one side of buildings right now. I can add another building on this side. Okay, so let's say almost, you know what? Let's go directly across the street here. So we'll line this horizontal line up with this horizontal line so that the buildings have the same bottom. Okay, here's sidewalk, so I want to start my vertical there. So let's line up my vertical for the building height. Let's do, because we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-story building on this side, how about we do, let's do another 4-story building. So I'm estimating right now, but we can actually measure that up to this, because we see this scale already exists. So we can line these up and say, okay, well, there's first story, the second story is on the horizon, third story here, and then we want the 4th story. Hey, look, I eyeballed that pretty darn close. Not bad. All right, so there's our 4th story. So there's our 4-story building. We're going to take the top, connect it to the vanishing point. We'll take this top, because we need it to be a box, over here. So here's our box. for the front surface of that building. Now we're going to end the building a little bit further down. So again, another vertical line, a little further down the converging lines. I don't know why I keep wanting to say contiguous. Contiguous is not the right word here. It's converging. Okay, we'll erase the rest of this converging line so it's not interfering. We need to have the horizon line. We can add in the stories to those corners. I didn't need to add that in. Let me leave that out. Erasers are going to be your friends in this process, guys, okay? You need to be willing and able to erase out lines you don't need. And then we will add in the front surface lines, which will all be horizontal. Oops, mostly horizontal, to create that building, okay? Erase that sidewalk line. So we now have sidewalk, we have roads, we have a couple of buildings that we need to add details to. I need to get rid of this converging line because it's confuzzling. Okay, we have what's left of our horizon. There's not a whole lot left back there anymore. Okay, and we have the start of a cityscape. It's starting to look that way. Did it look that way at the beginning? No, it did not. And that's okay. You have to build it up. You add more and more detail, and that's what sells this. That's what makes this work, is adding those additional details as you go. Okay, so today I want you guys to get started on it. I'd like to have this, we're going to try to finish this by Friday, and then we will go from there. So this is what we're doing. Let's get working.